I could do it. You guys, thank you for having us here. Oh yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. See, but the problem, and I definitely will be back. We're gonna choose it once a month. Stop, we love you guys. This is another episode. We started. Thank you to my guy. Appreciate you for having us. Tell us, ask him his fucking name, nigga. Say my guy. No. That's the homie, nigga. I'm hungover. Just thought after what you before. Honestly, I don't know what I said. This is what we're just drinking. We love you guys. We starving. This episode is sponsored by Underdog. Alright, Dr. Chavo, we love you guys. Is it recording? Alright, guys. Eagles. Eagles.
Hey folks, from Orem, Utah, and Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, Glendale, California, Mendeville, Oregon, Westmont, Illinois, Ketchikan, Alaska, Lost River, Wyoming, Marquette, Michigan, Tyler, Texas, and here is Facebook. It was Kristen who just went by. And for those of you who were here with Bob Crawford about an hour ago, was that fun? I always love talking to people who love what they do. I don't really care even necessarily what it is that they do, but when they get that excited about their work, it's always fun. And that's a really surprising book in a lot of ways. That was a lot of fun to do. For what it's worth, it was only supposed to be a half-hour interview, but it was clear that there was much more to say. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, it was fun. All right, so I'm going to get right down to it today with the caveat that is the warning that I have been on board for 3 days and have not been able to get as immersed in the news as I would. So I'm going to give an overview of a number of things that are happening with a few deep dives, but it's not going to be as deeply sourced as I normally have. So I'll be back up to speed by tonight's letter, I promise, but I didn't get home until just before I talked to Bob. And so I haven't had that much time. All right, so I'm going to start in a bad place and move you to what I hope is a good place. And I'm going to start with the fact that we are really in what my mother would call a melon pass in the world right now. And it's frightening. And things are, I feel like the whole world's full of spinning plates. And everybody's trying to manage that as best they can. So one of the things I really noticed about the questions you asked is that people want to know how the Iran war is going to end, whether there'll be an election, whether the SAVAC's going to pass, and so on and so forth. And you want me to predict the future. And, my big thing is we don't know what the future is going to be. We have the capacity to change the future. So I'm not really going to be able to lay your mind to rest on specific things, but maybe I will be able to processes. So I'm going to start first of all with the big bad news, and that's that in the United States of America, we are seeing a radical right fascism movement coming together and really trying to exert its authority over the United States of America. And I'm going to talk about how that is. But before I talk about that, I want to emphasize that this is a very small movement. It is not, as with all right-wing reactionary movements, it doesn't have a lot of adherents. But they are able to project the position that there are more of them than there are. And crucially, in the United States, because of the 2024 election and because of the situation before the 2024 election, they have managed to grab hold of the key pieces of our democracy. So the people who look at democracies and their health are looking at the United States right now and are shocked at the degree to which we have fallen away from being a democracy, which, by the way, was teetering, has been teetering for a while anyway. But they're shocked at how fast our democracy is degrading into either competitive authoritarianism or, a different system where we don't get to choose our leaders. And so there aren't that many people behind this, but they're in crucially important places. So when I say that they're trying to consolidate in this movement, what am I talking about? So you've heard me talk before about how there are all these different flavors of MAGA Republicans. And that they're sort of fellow travelers, but they didn't necessarily all come together to do the same thing. So, for example, you have the tech bros who joined the Trump train late in 2024. People like Elon Musk, for example, or Peter Thiel, who is sort of the mentor and the sponsor of JD Vance. And they joined into that because they really wanted to get rid of regulation and taxes, because they wanted to be able to run their businesses however they wished, and felt like the laws that the Congress had put in place to protect women and the environment and people of color and so on, and the taxes that those programs cost, were stopping them from being able to create this brilliant fantasy future to which they imagine they will someday go. So you have the tech bros, but they're sort of fellow travelers to the white nationalists who are really interested in taking over the federal government and making it even stronger than it is now in order to force a theocracy essentially on the rest of us. And then there's sort of business people who went along with MAGA because they didn't like taxes and they didn't like regulation, and they wanted access to the kind of government contracts that really make up a number of defense businesses, for example. And then you had people like Donald Trump who were in there because they wanted power and they wanted to stay in jail. And all of those people kind of were in the leadership, while you then had at the lower levels of the Trump train the true believers, the MAGAs, and I'll separate them off in a second from the people who voted for Trump before. But the MAGAs who are they're feeling religiously and culturally left behind, and so they just like Trump. They feel that he speaks for them, and they don't pay any attention to what he actually does. He's kind of their avatar. And they voted for him in 2024. And then you also had along with them a number of people who were frustrated by the economy overwhelmingly, and maybe had not paid a lot of attention to politics before that, and who also were paying a lot of attention to what we now call the manosphere. Now, the reason I laid all those out is one of the things that you see if you're watching people like Gilead Morris, who writes Strength in Numbers, is that those people, the last group that I mentioned, young Americans and Latinos, have turned their backs on Trump. They have fallen away from him in that part of the coalition, which was a crucial part of the ability of Trump to be elected in 2024 and for Republicans to take the ground that they did in 2024. So what does that leave? That leaves a base of people like Stephen Miller, who wants to create a white nationalist society, Russell Vought, who wants to create a theocracy, the Trumps, and Donald Trump especially, who are interested in increasing their own power, and the tech bros who want contracts and they want to be able to do whatever they want in their companies. And the problem for them is that they no longer have the numbers to make their wishes come true. And they also don't always agree on stuff. So while some of that coalition wants to have a weaker government, other members of that coalition want to have a stronger government. So what you're seeing here, especially as frustration grows with the Trump administration,